Time on Tipp FM, powered by Munster Solar, your local solar experts, delivering clean, cost-effective energy solutions for a brighter tomorrow. See munstersolar.ie.
Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Extra Time. My name is Ronan Quirk. We're here until 8 o'clock this evening and we'd love to hear from you. Our text number is 083 311 3311. That also works for WhatsApp messages as well. 083 311 3311. We're on Blue Sky. Our Blue Sky handle is extra time at bsky.social. And we'd love to hear from you. We're looking for nominations as well for the Tipp FM Sports Star of the Month for March. So if you've seen something that you think is worthy of a nomination, send an email to sportstar@tippfm.com. That's sportstar, all one word, at tippfm.com. That text number again is 083 311 3311. Later on tonight's show we'll be looking back on our footballers. They had a win over Waterford, and our under-20s had a win over Limerick in the win on Saturday afternoon. We'll hear from their manager. We'll also have camogie with Geraldine Canaan, ladies football with David Power, local rugby, AIL rugby with Pat O'Donoghue. We'll have local soccer with Barry Ryan, all to come in the next 55 minutes or so. But we'll start with events in the stadium on Saturday night when Tipperary and Kilkenny played out a draw in the final round of this year's National Hurling League Division 1. It means that Tipperary finished third in the placings and don't qualify for a National Hurling League final, but attention will now turn to Sunday the 19th of April, 4 o'clock, when the opening round of the championship starts. We're also mindful of the fact that the opening round of the Under-20 Hurling Championship is this Wednesday night, and in the stadium. Tipp take on Cork, 7 o'clock, a game you can hear live here on Tipp FM. Don't forget our text numbers 083 311 3311. Let's start by hearing from Liam Cahill. He spoke after the Kilkenny game to Paul Carroll and the rest of the assembled media.
Yeah, sure. Look, happy that we didn't lose the game, I suppose, first off. Could have maybe, could have won the game, to be honest, yeah. But a couple of goal chances maybe went a big, and that would have put a decent bit of daylight between the teams. But when you don't take them, you pay the price with Kilkenny, because they never go away, and they did typically what Kilkenny do. They stayed in the fight and got something out of it at the end.
Yeah, John, it was a great game from a neutral's perspective. It was a great game to watch, and that up and down, both teams having a right go at it. Yeah,
it looked that on the line. They seemed to be fairly free flowing. I'd say it was a game that had quite a number of mishandling errors and mistakes in as well. We would be disappointed with some of our handling issues, which hurt us in hindsight. But all in all, a good, fast, competitive game, and first bit of good weather coming into play as well, which is great. And it just shows that when the ground is getting better and the ball is getting drier, the hurling gets better as well from both sides. Good workout leading into championship.
Would you be happy with the league overall, Liam, with the way it worked out for you?
Yeah, I would have been. I'd been disappointed, obviously, with the two games that we would have lost. Disappointed, really, I suppose, with the Limerick game here on the night, that just with our energy levels on that particular occasion. But I think the league again has been really beneficial to us, getting opportunities into players that are coming onto the scene, and I suppose towards the latter stages of this league we've got some more experienced players back on the field after being laid up with little injuries and that. So yeah, we're just coming in at the right time now to really go after our I suppose our touch work and our last bit of sharp fitness work leading into the first round of the Munster Championship. Yeah.
Liam, out there today, Ronan Maher probably got a good minutes into him. Likewise, Alan Tynan, Brian McGrath in the first half as well. Probably important those lads get minutes in before the championship, because they hadn't played all too much leading up to this.
Yeah, they were all just start-stop with injuries. So you can train. Training has been great. The lads have been training really well, but there's no substitute for playing in an environment like that tonight. So we've got a good bank into them. We will have one or two maybe workouts now again before championship, but as I said, it's good to have got that bank of work into them players in particular.
Barron, with Jake Morris, very difficult for him obviously today, but 1-5 on the day, kind of showed his leadership and kind of really stood up as he's tend to been doing for Tipperary.
Yeah, look at Jake was excellent again today, and he's a key player for us in Tipperary, and I suppose it was a tough night for him as well after the passing of his grandfather Jimmy, and we send all our deepest condolences to the Morris family and everybody in Aero Gnina GA club as well on the passing of Jimmy late last night. But Jake was adamant that Jimmy would have requested him to play the game, and he was always very, very proud of Jake, and he can be very proud of him again tonight.
Just on Oisin O'Donoghue, you played him at wing back the last two games. The under 20s were playing Wednesday, but you probably wanted to maybe get another look at him at wing back and playing him in that position. What's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, that was exactly it. We wanted to see more of Oisin at this level at wing back. Now, I suppose to be fair, we didn't envisage having to play the full match with him, but it just the way the game materialised, it just worked out that way. But look, he has 4 or 5 days now for cover into an under-20 championship, and they'll be released in full. All the under-20s that are in the senior squad are back with the under-20s for the last couple of sessions. So and we wish them luck on Wednesday night. And
just Darren McCarthy went off injured there, seemed to be a little bit shaken up. Just an update on him and on John McGrath, who was a late kind of left out of the squad.
Yeah, John had just kind of a muscle soft tissue injury that picked up Thursday night. It's not bad, but we didn't want to risk it tonight, being so close to championship. And Dara is just getting assessed there now, for a collision. So I'd imagine he'll be okay as well. But so hopefully we came through the night unscathed from an injury perspective, and we'll need to have everyone available for 4 weeks' time.
Just with Jason staying on the freeze, is that up for grabs, or is that decided now heading towards the championship?
And it's never be decided. It's just good to have them options, I suppose. Share it about, and you just don't know on any given day who will be on or who will be off form. So it's good to have options. And Jason tonight, I think he nailed out all bar one. I think throughout the game. So it's good to have them options as we head into a rigorous Munster championship.
Will you be sort of having a look at the panel now for the championship? Will you be reviewing it?
Yeah, we will. We will look at the panel again. There's quite a number of guys that that are on our panel that we would have liked to have got game time into, but these are all new players in, and it's very I suppose important that you don't introduce them too soon. That you make sure that they're in that environment that we're trying to create there every evening for a period of time before they're ready to be I suppose unloaded into proper inter-county senior hurling. But all in all, we have 39 on the panel at the moment, John, so it's really competitive. Everyone is contributing to the group, but we'll probably look at it again leading into championship to keep everybody focused, I think. Yeah, definitely.
Finally, Liam, what does this next kind of 3-4 weeks look like now as you kind of prepare for April 19th? How do you kind of manage this kind of 29-day period?
Yeah, a lot of the heavy work is banked, so we will be really going after our hurling and our that sharpness in our hurling as the by the end of the month we'll have the long evens new time will be in, so we'll be ready to get a good bit of daylight into training sessions. So we'll be hoping to really sharpen everyone's touch up, and based on tonight we really need to, because we love being, and we're always myself, Mikey, the coaching team are always I suppose encouraging our lads to be brave on the ball, but tonight we're a little bit silly on the ball, and there's a big difference between being brave on the ball and being silly on the ball. So we definitely need to re-look at that and make sure that our hurling is suitable to the risk we want to take, especially when we go to work that ball out, and obviously after tonight, when it comes to putting away goal chances as well, we really have to go after that, because you just can't miss 3 or 4 goal chances from point blank range. Like it's unforgivable at this level. So they're all the little areas we'll go after, but in general we're in a decent enough place, but need a bit of luck now over the next 3 or 4 weeks to get through healthy and well for the.
Excuse me, speaking to the media after that draw against Kilkenny, Ken Hogan was on duty for us. How are you, Ken?
How are you, Ronan?
I'm very well, Ken. Your thoughts on Saturday night? It kind of developed to feel like a bit of a dead rubber as the game progressed. I don't know, did you get a sense of that?
It didn't, to tell you the truth, Ronan. I thought it was a fairly competitive match. I thought it was a good first half. I thought it was the quickest game we played all year, which obviously culminated in a 324 to 227 scoreline. I thought the pitch was very good. The game was very fast. You're mentioning dead rubber. Obviously, it was. Kilkenny came down smarting, obviously, from All-Ireland semi-final defeat, and also the fact that they were getting a bit of stick at home in their own county. So I think it was a huge game for both teams, a huge learning curve for both teams, because a lot of the Tipp guys needed that game badly as well, Ronan.
Yeah, and there was a sense of getting game time back into the likes of Robert Doyle, Ronan Maher. Great to see Alan Tynan back. And if you look at the team that took the field, like, you know, there's a lot of All-Ireland starters who weren't on the field last Saturday night. So, like, have you a sense, perhaps, that we've found players in the league, or has the league done for us what you wanted it to do?
Yeah, I think you know, there's a few pluses there. The Oisin O'Donoghue situation is an obvious plus, because he's very, very, very versatile and can play at half back and half forward. Like the two Cashel men, the two first cousins were, you know, lined up at the two half backs and were very effective. From a Tipperary point of view, you know, like, if we had lost that game by a point, we'd have been really disappointed. Or if Kilkenny had lost that game, it's really disappointed. It's all about how you know, the form you come into training, and how the mood you come into training the following Tuesday night, and the analysis and what has gone on. Now, they've worked very hard. Like Shawnee Kennedy came in and got two brilliant points as well. You know, Conor Martin got another run, a young player. We have two players playing under 20 on Wednesday night, or two or three. Oisin's playing. Oisin's captain.
Oisin's captain, yeah.
And then you have Cathal, you've Cathal Riley and Stephen Tobin. Another find, in my opinion. You know, top class display the last day in Waterford. So definitely there is green shoots there. The defence will be disappointed, obviously. You know, when you concede 324, you've got to say to yourself, well, lads, we need to knuckle down there. But again, those guys are so professional in their approach, and imagine so professional in analysing what happened. They won't be allowing that Cork forward line, who again shot the lights out against Offaly 6-26 or something to score. So from that perspective, we will know of Cork's prowess in front of goals and their forward line. So Tipp again will be preparing for that game. You know, we'll be watching Cork with interest. That Cork-Limerick game, of course, is going to be a hugely interesting game, considering obviously what's down the road for us. But I think overall, the game time was needed, Ronan. I think there probably will be at least one game before they play Cork, obviously behind closed doors or whatever. Everybody needs that bit of hurling. We had a good week of weather last week. This week is not so good again, I believe. But having said that, the pitches are firming up and the evenings are getting brighter, and I think, there's plenty of questions to be asked still, and I know, that game is taking on added significance now, Tipp and Cork, because it's going to be a huge game. But, of course, Cork have that league final as a prelude. They do, and
we'll talk about that perhaps closer to the time. What does Liam and Mikey do for the next 4 weeks? I'm very much an outsider looking in, but it looks like we don't have the sharp stick work that would be required for championship, which is fair enough. It is only March, and there's a lot of emphasis perhaps in the early months of the year on physical training and getting big banks of physical training done. So the next 4 weeks, is that largely done? And will the focus be on perhaps honing skills, sharpening up, stick work? What kind of drills? Is that what they'll be doing for the next 4 weeks?
Yeah, well, Liam, essentially said obviously there were a few weeks starting behind every other county. I think this month now we'll catch up on a lot of those issues. But the first time, obviously Darren McCarthy had been involved in Fitzgibbon, so had Oisin O'Donoghue that had been involved in Fitzgibbon. But the first time I saw Darren McCarthy, he was really hopping off the ground the other night. I thought his speed work was excellent. I thought his handling was excellent. He got plenty of treatment as well. And please God, he's okay. He had to go off with that injury near the end, that head shoulder slash injury from the point of view of Tipp. It's all about sharpening up now, getting ready for championship, the big picture championship for every player. to have everybody fit and ready and raring to go. You have 2 games within 7 days, Ronan. So, that requires at least a group of 24, 25 players to be available for selection because you never know what's going to happen down the track. Some guy could pick up an unfortunate injury even between now and then. But I think overall, tactically, people will be working a lot more on preparation for championship in the next month as well. I think there'll be a lot of sitting down, chatting about obviously preparation and they're set up in their game plan for the Cork game, Ronan.
Yeah, it's intriguing, and to a certain extent it's all about the 18th of April. I've been saying it here pretty much all year, and everything else is noise. But you do want to bounce into championship. You don't want to limp into championship. But I think, based in mind, we've 7 or 8 points from the league, finished third in the league. We're certainly not limping into championship, but we're not exactly bouncing in with the verve that we perhaps might have done last year, despite the disappointment of the league final last year. Yeah,
and I was on teams myself that bounced into championships. We thought we were, walking on air, and then you hit a stone wall, and the next thing the doubts set in. But I think I think our feet are firmly on the ground. That's the feature of this group when you have leaders like Noel McGrath, Seamus Kennedy, Mikey Breen, all those guys have set a huge example for the younger generation, and I think the guys, are really set up. Their feet are on the ground. I think they know that obviously what's coming down the tracks. They are the All-Ireland champions. We're up there now. Everybody else is trying to take an ounce off us. So from that perspective, I think Tipperary are well aware of what's going to be required for championship. And new time next week, it's a big thing really. When that clock sets in for new time, I think everybody will be hopping off the ground, looking forward to what's coming ahead. And I think the team will be well prepared. Just on Wednesday night, I'm a big lover of the Under-20 Championship, as you know, and some of the great matches that you see. It's just such a magnificent championship. Like a lot of people, I think it gets run off a little bit quickly. But having said that, Wednesday night, 2 very strong teams. I had a quick word with Brendan Cummins at the Tipp FM Sports Awards, and he did big up Cork in a major way when he was talking to me. I don't know whether he was trying to downplay his own chances or whatever he was doing, but Cork are a very, very strong under-20 team this year, and we're in for a mighty battle on Wednesday night. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, and I've been there before as under-21 manager myself. When we won the All-Ireland Championship, and you come back in, and you're, as I said, you bounce into championship, and then you meet Cork in Thurles, because Cork love playing in Thurles. That's the one thing we've got to be very aware about, whether it's under-21 minor or senior. So I think the under-20 game on Wednesday night, it's a critical game. Remember last year we got a poor start. We were beaten by Limerick in Thurles. Yeah, but by God, the guys settled down, and I know Brendan. The one thing about Brendan and Paddy and Fenton and all the rest of the lads there, Tom Costello, the one thing about those lads is their absolute honesty. They have scoured the county from Lurra down to Carrigan and Shore, and they are really well prepared, and you saw that last year. They were ready for every eventuality, culminating going down to Kilkenny and winning that All-Ireland title. But they'll want more, and Brendan is a guy that has been very ambitious always, and a big tip man. So from his point of view, I think he's really, really well prepared for Wednesday night, and that'll be a game again that'll take on a life of its own, because Tipp and Cork at under-21, under-20 level, at minor level, we always see top class there. Oh, it's going to be a really entertaining game, and I encourage as many people as possible to get yourselves to Thurles next Wednesday night for a 7 o'clock throw-in, because I think these are really special nights with eminently such good youngsters playing, particularly in blue and gold. Ken, always a pleasure. Talk soon, my friend. Anytime. Thanks indeed. Ken Hogan joining us there. Let's keep it going with hurling, because JJ Kennedy's on the line. JJ, how are you?
Hi, Ronan.
And it might be a question for sometime in the next 4 weeks, but I'll ask it now anyway. How would you assess our league over this, 6 games we played?
I guess a sort of mixed impression, mixed bag really, good and bad. And you have I suppose the height of the bad was the Limerick performance. Obviously was unacceptable and was just so poor. Better days, against Galway. I suppose I think probably one of the steadiest performances we had was the opening round against Galway, and the crucial win we had was against Waterford, and then you had last Saturday evening's draw. So it was a mixed. I think, reasonable satisfaction from that point of view. I was just looking at the statistics, and I think Liam Cahill gave game time to 38 different players over the course of the 6 games. That's a huge number, and I think there were only 2 players who actually saw action in every one of the 6 games. So a huge turnover of players, huge number of guys getting a chance to put their hands up, some putting their hands up higher than others. And I think he'd probably be reasonably happy with that, with some of the younger players. Not necessarily that they're ready to step in to the first 15 immediately, but they're works in progress, and they're developing, and he has them there in the background. So from that perspective, I think he'll be reasonably happy, though probably going back more towards last year's team as you come to the championship.
Yeah, if I put a gun to your head right now, if you excuse the analogy, but if I really put you to the pin of your collar and said pick the 15 that's going to start against Cork on the basis that everyone's fit, I'd say you'd probably be going with very close to the 15 that took the field against Cork in July of last year.
Yeah, or the 15 that played the All-Ireland last year. I suppose you could ask it that way, what changes from the 15 that started the All-Ireland last year, assuming that everybody is fit and healthy and ready to go, and probably very little, though you're going to need, on any given day, you're going to need 5 substitutes, so they'll be there waiting as well. I suspect, the younger fellas like Cathal O'Reilly, Stephen Tobin, obviously have made a major impression in their first year coming in so young. You would expect perhaps maybe not ready to push those guys into first team yet, to let them work their way through it, and particularly, I suppose, work their way through the under-20 competition, which, as you mentioned, starts now on Wednesday evening, and see how they go there. Perhaps Oisin O'Donoghue might be one of the players coming in and out in last year regularly on the team and getting goals at crucial times, and he might be one that's pushing hardest to break into the first 15. But you would certainly expect maybe 13, 14 of last year's first 15 to still be there.
Yeah, and on the game on Saturday night, as it was, I mean, I was disappointed we didn't win it, to be blunt, because we came back from the early goal, which was scored from the throw-in. Their second goal, TJ's, it looked like an obvious free from a push in the back that wasn't given, and yet we got back to lead with time almost up. There was a bit of a stoppage which allowed them time to work the ball out to his name escapes me now, the wing back who slotted over
Jordan Malloy.
Jordan Malloy, thank you, Jordan Malloy, who slotted over the bar. So that got Kilkenny a draw. What was your feelings as you walked to your car after the game on Saturday night?
A bit like yourself, I was disappointed. Glad, obviously, we didn't lose, but I thought on the trend of play, we should have won that match. I thought we did enough to win it, even with the hits we took from those goals, and there were blows. The 2 second-half goals particularly brought them right back into the game when we seemed to have it under our control. But even allowing for those, we still drove on, got back into the lead, despite missing probably 3 pretty clear-cut goal chances, which I know is something that annoyed Liam Cahill, because that's one of the things he always pushes with his teams, this ability to take those goal chances when they arise. And we just weren't clinical enough. It's interesting to compare with this time last year. I think the team this time last year put goal chances away. That's what we were doing last year. We were getting goals in the league, and as the championship unfolded, it was the same pattern. Goals were absolutely essential to us, but we're not quite at that pitch yet, and we don't have that level of sharpness yet. So that's what has to be worked on in the next 4 weeks. And I would imagine a bit of concern about the defence as well. I think particularly, Ronan Maher has come back in after surgery. This is only his second game, and he looked on Saturday as if there's a bit of work to be done there, just to sharpen up. He didn't look as sharp as certainly he was last year. And remember, this guy was absolutely pivotal to us last year in virtually every game.
Yeah, I watched the All-Ireland back recently, and I missed how good he was on the day when I was in Croke Park. It's only when you watch it back that you realise how colossus like he was on that final.
Yeah, absolutely, and you could have rewound back to all the championship matches last year, and on every day he took on one of the key men of the opposition, and was crucial. From you think of him in that against Peter Duggan in that a crucial game above Ennis and that, but he's not at that level yet. Understandably, perhaps coming back, after being laid up during the winter and having surgery and so on. So I think that's a bit of a worry. We certainly need him back in full health and back at the level that he was at last year. And I think stuff like that will probably bother them a little bit, and they'll feel there's a bit of work to be done there before we get back to that pitch. And generally, a sharpening up. There was a lot of it. And I think Liam Cahill referenced this. There was a lot of sort of fumbling and missed passes and dropped passes and misplaced deliveries and all of that stuff last night. A lot of errors in that particular game, and one at the end, of course, cost us because we were in a promising position and we just spilled the ball, and it let them back and get the equaliser. So I was a bit disappointed. Great to get a draw, but it was a game I think we should have won. And but you look, it was no big deal given what was at stake in it. But it does point to what has to be done in the next 4 weeks in terms of sharpening up and getting a few things right, particularly bearing in mind that Cork forward line that we'll be facing on April 19th.
Yeah, Tom McGrath's with us. Hey, Tom.
Good, Ronan, thanks.
Your thoughts on Saturday night
to be hard
then maybe your thoughts on the league in general. Go on.
Well, I suppose on Saturday night to be hard to differ from what JJ summed it up there quite well. I think finishing up that the game that sort of we should have won. I thought we're very patchy in the first half. Got ourselves into a 6-point hole, got out of it late at half time, and then went 5 points up, and kind of said to myself, this we want to kind of push on now, and give a bit of lay down a bit of a marker, if you like, but no misplaced passes, fumbling. And the thing I found about it, now misplaced passes was one thing, but I think Kilkenny's anticipation of some of the things that we were going to do in our backline was a bit telegraphed, and they read it and intercept passes more than we hit bad passes. But pass doesn't go to hand, of course. That's in the statistics area. You've lost possession, and that's it. But I think Kilkenny fronted up. Kilkenny forwards, that they were inclined to face up into Tipperary backmen and get into their faces, whereas our forwards, when the opposition got the ball, were inclined to drift off them and drift back in defensive mode. Whereas that's all right in maybe football or something like that, but hurling when the ball is going 90, 100 metres, you get into people's face, I think, and that's you weren't going to be afraid that Kilkenny lads were going to run the legs off you. Might be a bit different against Cork, but the outcome of the league, you'd love to have a league semi-final. 4 weeks is a long time, and with what JJ covered there about, we said Ronan Maher and a few more or less, they haven't got a huge amount of game time into them. You can't beat real matches, and the challenge match circuit is not the way to be going. Whereas if you had a league semi-final, to be great, but look, that would be causing other problems too, I suppose, really. So you have to be careful what you wish for. But no, I think the league worked out kind of all right. The magnitude of the losses against Limerick and Cork would be the ones that I'd be worried about. That why did that happen? But I think that's we're skilled into working out the wherefores and the where-nots of that type of stuff. But no, it's 4 weeks now, and that'll start to shape the rest of the year.
JJ, just before I let you go, Wednesday night under 20s, it's a strong Tipperary team, but I'm told it's a very, very strong Cork team.
Yeah, and I suppose the opening game, you don't really know what to expect. I know they'll have played challenge matches and so on, and they've been training for quite a long time, so I'm sure Brendan Cummins and the management know quite well what they have. I'm told there are a few injuries as well that are hampering selection for this particular game. So there's a kind of unknown quantity really when you go into that first game in these underage competitions. We saw last year the way we got caught in the first match and had to turn it around after that. So you don't really know. There's rumours, and you're told that Cork are very strong and so on. We should be strong as well. So it's fascinating. I'm looking forward to it just to see where they're at, and it's looking at the minor. Going back 3 years ago at minor, it wasn't one of our greatest years. But a lot of things have happened since then, and other players have developed and come on. And of course, there's a number of the senior panel on this particular team, which again will be very interesting to see how they perform.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait really for Wednesday night. JJ, thank you. I'm going to hold on to Tom for some football chat, but thanks for your time tonight, JJ. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Ronan.
Not at all. Tom, the footballers, will come to the under-20s in a second. The seniors went out against Waterford, did what they had to, put up a decent score, but there must be some degree of 1 point more and we might have got it promoted. There must be some regret when you look back on the league campaign as a whole.
There has to be come down to it, but like we're anticipating last Monday night that was possible that was going to happen, and Tipp went out and did what they had to do. The calculators would have been out, I suppose, if Leitrim couldn't produce two results in 2 consecutive results, and Leitrim beaten Carlow, it would have got very interesting altogether. The 5 teams and 8 would have developed then, and now our score difference. The Wicklow loss was double
whammy, yeah, because it was the margin as well.
But I thought yesterday though then was a good bounce back. I thought that was important, that how the team would react to the loss against Waterford. And traditionally Waterford have caused us huge problems in league, maybe more so in the championship. That I think we'll be playing them again in the championship, and the Waterford team that will turn up in the championship will be a bit different. There's never a bad Waterford team, and the big thing is not to get lulled into any false sense of security by the results yesterday. But I think the big thing was you got scores, got plenty of scores, and again, I mentioned it already, 2 marquee forwards, Sean O'Connor and Keane Smith, great that they're ratcheting up good tallies, and a good file there with now is Dahi Hogan as well.
It's a very impressive full forward line. I think of all the things that can take positives out of the league campaign is the gelling of that full forward line with Dahi and Keane, 2 young fellas, and Sean O'Connor's not exactly a veteran by any stretch of the imagination, but he's been around a good few number of years, but he's still a young fella.
And starting to really fulfil the promise that he showed, say a couple of years ago. But them guys, the main actor, the Oscars and all that, the sporting actors and sporting actresses, they all count too, and they all have their role to play. So it's there's no I-in team. It's 15-person game, or 20 or 22 or whatever you can use. But no, I think that they'll 8 points was a decent tally. I think if you're told to start the league, you'd come up with 8 points. You wouldn't expect to be so near, so then the regrets come in. You wouldn't be expecting to be promoted with 8, but I think they've been happy taking 8 points now, being honest about it.
The under-20s bounced back from their disappointment against Clare to have a significant win over Limerick in New Inn. Kind of a game of 2 halves. I was only trying to follow it while I was at work, but they powered home in the second half.
Yeah, well, in a bit of a hole, and goals win games, in a couple of changes here and there, seems to have turned the tide. That weren't in a great position early on, but got a couple of goals and built on that, and went on from there, and good result. And sure, winner takes all now with Waterford.
And Micheál Freeney is the captain, led by example as well.
They're fine players, and they're big guys as well. A lot of fine players on that team, and I think everybody will be satisfied that the team recover from the loss against Clare was important, because I think it's not, Clare is never an easy place to go, particularly when you have to go to West Clare to play a championship or play a league or play anything. It's not an easy place to go. So toughen a huge blow, losing the match, but to rebound and win there the weekend, and now you'll have Waterford. Now you have to go away to Waterford, I think. So that'll be a tricky assignment. But I think that focuses the mind too, that when it gets to it, these guys they're well used to being on the road and experience and gelling as a team. Now Waterford have to play Clare. Yeah. That match wasn't played the weekend. There was a bereavement in Clare, that'll be played, and then we'll know. Well, you know what you'll have to do. You'll have to
beat Waterford. That's the end of it.
And take it from there. But no, it's good that the team won, and that they give themselves a shot now at making the second phase, that's important, and it's important from a morale point of view, and the seniors and the development of the players generally, and it's good, and every match is important to win, because you're coming from a low enough base, so kind of a win is a win, and you don't overanalyze the performance. You get the win is the most important thing, and then you delve into it a bit more after that. But when you get challenges in matches too, which is important. I mean, like we used the thing last week about the seniors, the way they got a challenge below against Waterford, and it's better to test a team coming from behind rather than a team that's hanging on from in front. Like so, the football, the 21s, they had to do it the hard way on Saturday. Then at home, like that brings its own kind of pressure.
It does, yeah.
No, I think there was a lot to like about Saturday.
Excellent.
Apart from the win.
Exactly. Tom, I've got to fly, but thanks for your time.
Yep, welcome, Roland.
Take care. Tom McGrath joining us there. We'll hear a lot more from Tom, JJ and the lads over the course of the next 4 weeks as we gear up for Championship. Let's hear from Niall Fitzgerald. He spoke to Paul Carroll after the win on Sunday.
We won, that was we got a decent enough score up. We probably left a lot of scores behind us, and we wouldn't be overly happy with there was a few uncontested shots that Waterford got away. So yeah, look, it was a decent enough performance. All we could do was look after ourselves, and we did that. So.
And coming in here today, what was the kind of message? A lot of things had to go your way to have a chance at promotion, but you had to do your own bit. What was the kind of message coming in?
No, our message was very simple. It was just about winning the game. That's all we spoke about. That was it. There was too many different permutations. Like there was no point in trying to delve into that. Our job was to win the game and try and get a decent performance. And look, we some of the performance was good. Some of it, I think needs a lot of work, and we won the game, so we'll take that.
There was patches in there where the lads played really well, and there was patches where they maybe floated out again, particularly in the first half. But it seemed to be when the lads played with a bit of intensity and kind of support and runs, particularly Joe Higgins' goal, that when the lads do that, they can play some really good football.
Yeah, I think a big problem that happened in both halves was around the kick out. That we started, losing breaks, not properly contesting. Maybe we definitely let their keeper get too many short kick-outs off, and when that happens, then you're giving the opposition oxygen. When we won the ball around the middle and went at them, we looked way more dangerous. But like it's fine saying, you want to attack with intent and all that. You have to win the ball first, and that's an area where we left ourselves down for parts of both halves, and kind of let Waterford get a grip, whereas we just needed to be better around that breaking ball, better contesting, and not giving the Waterford keeper the opportunity to get those short ones off.
Shawnee O'Connor finished with 3-4 today. He's put up a great score throughout the league, but that kind of full forward line with himself, Keane Smith and Dai Hogan has been nearly the full forward line in every game, and they've been consistently scoring, doing the majority of the scoring throughout. But Shawnee in particular today was a fine return, 3-4.
Yeah, no, we got some very good scores, and we missed a lot as well, but Shawnee took his chances really well. And in fairness to the three lads, they've done a lot of good things in throughout the league, So look, we're trying to. I don't know. I suppose elements of I'm frustrated enough, because I feel that the Carlow game and the Longford game were two games in particular that we should have got a better result. We drew with Longford up there. That's a game we should have won that game, and we're very disappointed with that. And then the performance against Carlow was probably our poorest performance all year, and still missed the penalty and had 3 times as many wides as them. So look, them's the breaks.
Is that how you kind of reflect on the league? That we're 8 points is not a bad return, but there's those little breaks that could have gone, that you could be in a league final, that it was very close in your first year.
At the end of the day, the Longford game is like we controlled that game completely, and probably when we were getting back on top, we conceded a bit of a fluke goal, and even after getting back level, we had a chance to win the game as well. So like that one hurts, and then the Carlow one, you lose by 3 points in the end, but I don't know how many times. I think we had six shots in a row in that game to try and get a leveler when we were a point down, and we didn't get you know, and just like that has probably been our downfall at times. Our conversion rate, you know, hasn't been where it needs to be. You know, even you go back to last weekend with Wicklow, like, you know, we lose the game by 14 points. Wicklow had 23 shots, we had 27. You know, so, and you lose the game by 14 points, so it kind of tells its own story. It's an area that we really need to get better at.
You kind of mentioned at the start of the year that the league was the goal. Now the league's over. What's the kind of target now for the rest of the year?
I had said that the Talton is our second aim, you know, and we have to be realistic. We're not going to be going beating Kerry in a month's final, you know. So the Talton has to be our next goal, and we'll look at that and we'll prepare for it.
That's Niall Fitzgerald speaking to Paul Carroll after the game on Sunday. Let's hear from Paddy O'Gorman, the under-20 manager. He spoke after the win against Limerick on Saturday in New.
I suppose, look, we never really panicked. We explained to the boys the stats at half time. We said our conversion rate had to go up. It was poor in the first half, so we said, look, just take your time in the shots and just put them dead at least. And look, I think our conversion rate was a lot higher in the second half, and I think that was a winning of the game.
You had to do a bit of your organisation as well, maybe at half time. I think Aidan O'Shea, they put a big man in the edge of the square, got 2 goals. So
yeah.
What did you do to kind of rejig things?
We kind of guessed in the second half they mightn't put him in as quick, which I don't think they did. I can't really remember because they were playing against the wind. We had a plan when if Sean Griffin would go back in him and try and Emmett would sit that little, our centre back would sit that little bit deeper and be ready for the breaks off him. But see you, Jamie. So yeah, look, he's a great player, and he was going in and out, and number 11 was causing damage by going in and out as well. Like, so it's hard when you're trying to play to the system. There's all these lads going in and out and trying to pick lads up. So that was we just said, look, we need to communicate more as well, you know, and just get contact on the ball. Don't sit back, just get contact on the ball, you know. So,
and probably you built into it throughout the second half. I think there was still maybe 4 in it coming towards that 3/4 mark, but I suppose once the score started flowing, then you just got to run them, and you were
yeah. And look, and we've been saying all along, we've 39 lads training with us every week. Like, and we said today, look, we'll use the bench again, and I think that the subs had a serious impact on the game, you know, and I think that made a massive difference. The lads that come off had done their job, to ran themselves into the ground, and then we'd finishers coming on to try and win the game then, and I think they were superb when they come on.
And Charlie Walsh coming in he didn't start the last day but started today and scored 1-4, 2 orange flags and a green flag.
Yeah, look, Charlie's unbelievable talent, and look, sometimes it's horses for course, and as a manager you try and be as honest as possible with players, and I explained that to Charlie last week, that we felt that it would be better him coming off the bench, and today was a day where we felt, let's unleash him, like, and that's no disrespect to Limerick. We just felt that we needed someone inside with a bit of pace, and Charlie was the man to do that today.
And Liam Freeney played a captain's part, I think 2-4, won the penalty as well, which was pointed by Mark Neville there. He played a huge role. Yeah, look, Liam is Liam. Like, Liam has played senior football for his club for a couple of years now, and I know from being involved with Ballyfreen as senior football manager, like, you're there, how are you going to stop him if he's inside or if he's coming on around on the loop? Like, he's a serious player. But look, I'm so proud of all the players, and I'm proud of the 39 lads that we have, because it's hard every Thursday night when you're naming that 24. It's hard when you're naming the 15 and there's lads not picked. That's the hardest part of the job, and you're disappointing lads, but, like, do you know what, they don't sulk, they just get on with it. And today, a perfect example is that, like, Dylan Cotter is a great soldier for us for the last 2 years, and it was so hard telling the likes of him this week that he wasn't going to be starting on the team, but he was immense when he came on. He did exactly what we wanted him to do. He responded the way a true player does, and he was unbelievable when he came on, along with all the rest of the players as well.
That's Paddy O'Gorman speaking after that win in the Under-20 Championship, which sets up in a winner-takes-all game against Waterford. Our ladies footballers were in action in Clonmel on Sunday, I should say. One texter sort of says, you know, with so few paying customers going into Semple Stadium, and how much money does that cost? Why didn't we consider a double header with the ladies in Clonmel on Sunday afternoon? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's a perennial one about where the footballers play. And again, if the footballers want to play in Timbuktu, I'd support them playing in Timbuktu. If they want to play in Thurles, let them play in Thurles. Anyway, David Power spoke I think, to Paul Jenkins, actually, after the 1-point win over Donegal in Clonmel.
I'm sure it's great. Look, it's just, I think over the last couple of weeks we've been unfortunate with a couple of results. We probably left the Monaghan game go away on us. We probably should have won there, and then I think up against Mayo we were unfortunate not to get a win as well. So there was a couple of games that we could have won. So today now, look, it's great. It's just great for the girls. It's great for the confidence. This was our third game in Clonmel and not winning, so we got that off our backs as well. So no, look, it's really, really good, really, really positive for the girls. The amount of work that they're doing, I'm just thrilled for them.
Donegal were very defensive. Were you expecting that coming into today's game?
Yeah. Look, we've done a lot of homework on them, and they kind of live off the opposition turning over the ball easily. And you saw it there; they got a great counter-attack point in there in the first half. So you have to be patient. You have to get bodies in. You have to get depth in and pull in the loose, players in. And I thought we got some great scores. Anna Rose Kennedy got 2 great points there in the first half. But look. Look, it's still only the league. We've one more game now against Tyrone. There's still a slight chance of getting promotion, and that's a great way for us to be in. There's a lot of new girls after coming in as well, and I thought Emma Buckley for her first start, she played really, really well, very, very composed on the ball. So look, there's a lot of positives.
Yeah, this does maybe change your preparation, does it? Now the Tyrone game has some level of importance. Maybe how will that change how you prepare for that one?
There's going to be a great bounce in our training, because now there's something to play for again. Tyrone are kind of something similar like Donegal as well. They play a defensive minded game, so we just have to be ready for that again and see can we get another. And even if we don't get promoted, but if we can get a win, all of a sudden we've got momentum building going into the championship, which is huge. So then we're after having 2 wins in a row. Possibly should have 3 wins in a row. So it's really, really positive.
And just personally, from your own point of view, you've had a great couple of weeks with the high school, with UL. The ladies now doing well in this one. Talk to us about the last couple of weeks for yourself.
Yeah, I've a very patient wife and son over there. Look, UL, look, it was just a huge. It was just brilliant to be involved. It was a massive couple of weeks. There was one weekend I was away for the 3 days. I think it was the Sigerson semi-final, and then with high school Munster final, and then we were up in Mayo actually. So I'm very fortunate to have a very good wife. She's looking at me over here, and look, I love it. I love managing teams. I love being involved in football, and that I can do for Tipperary, whether it's ladies or men, I'll always be there. And I just I'm a proud Tipperary football man.
The Tipp FM Sports Star of the Month with the Talbot Hotel Clonmel, multi-award winning wedding specialists with state-of-the-art leisure facilities and spa with food served daily.
The Tipp FM Sports Star of the Month.
Get your nominations in now. Extra time on Tipp FM, powered by Munster Solar, your local solar experts, delivering clean, cost-effective energy solutions for a brighter tomorrow. See munstersolar.ie.
Yeah, don't forget our text number 083 311 3311. I missed League Sunday last night. I don't know what was said, but a lot of people mentioning Patrick Horgan said about Tipperary last night, but I didn't see it. So if you want to, rather than reference it, maybe tell me what I said and I can make an assessment. Anyway, Geraldine Kinan's on the line. How, Ger?
How you doing, Ronan?
The minors were in action as well, weren't they?
No, under 23s.
Under 23s. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, they had a fantastic win in the Munster final, beating Cork and Cappamore. And last year, I suppose we were so it was brilliant to get revenge this year, and a fantastic result for this under 23 team. Only their second competitive game of the year. They beat Waterford 2 weeks ago in the semi-final, and to beat Cork now in the final. It was victory 112 to 13 points. The final score. They were behind at half time, 8 points to 7. I suppose turning point of the game was Molly O'Dwyer saving a penalty in the second half, while Ava O'Dwyer scored a penalty for Tipperary. So keep in the game. Grace Maloney was excellent. David Dwyer, Aoife Mellerick, Miriam Murphy, Paula Quirk. It was a great team performance overall, and I suppose to beat Cork at under 23 level was fantastic. And I suppose little time to celebrate their championship this weekend away to Dublin, and so just to wish them the very best luck for that. But it was also a good weekend for our seniors. They finished the league on a high with a comprehensive victory over Waterford in the final group game. I mean, all qualified for a league final, so I suppose Tipperary had result was more important for Tipperary, but at the same time, there's no way Waterford would have liked to have been beaten like the way they were. A big victory for Tipperary, big score, great into the league, and I suppose that concludes our league interest, but certainly went out on a high with probably the performance of the year so far.
Yeah, and as you say, Waterford were already qualified. I'm interested in the under-23s. It's a relatively new grade in camogie. It's obviously trying to bridge a gap that they felt was there. How many of that under-23 panel, though, are involved in the seniors? Is there the same crossover as you'd find in, say, or some of our under-20 hurlers in Liam Cal?
Yeah, I suppose it's like you said, it's new. It's only the second year. You remember, we would have had a second team. We would have had a junior team, and I suppose camogie got rid of having second counties. I suppose they didn't like the idea of Cork or Tipperary's beating, maybe Laois or doing that for development of camogie as a whole. So second counties were got rid of, and in replace them was the under 23. But also, I suppose there was no under 21 competition, so it is a bridge, as you said, to level. It is only the second year. Last year, I suppose it was kind of run similar timelines to the senior. So in Tipperary, we operated two separate panels. Some players were going up and down. This year, it is run a bit earlier. But again, we have some. I suppose there are some players that are on both panels, but not to the extent that maybe the starters for the seniors aren't coming down playing on the 23s. It's more some of the panels of the seniors are playing with the under 23s. That's how it's been worked at the moment. Whether anything changes for the championship, but different counties are doing different things. Some counties are having two total separate panels. Some are and quite to do similar to the hurling, but it's certainly great for development, and it's bringing on a lot of players. And we had the likes of Sleen Guinan and Aoife Dwyer, who are key players on the under 23 team last year, are really pushing for senior year. Certainly worked in that regard.
For our seniors, the Munster Championship is next, then the All Ireland. Is that the sequence?
Yeah, so Munster Championship's kicking off. We're up against Cork on the same day, double header with the Tipp and Cork hurlers. So only a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah,
away.
4 weeks away. Yeah.
So that's and then obviously the All Ireland series kicks in after that. So it's still plenty of time, but still not that far away as well.
No, well, listen, we'll look forward to that. Getting early for that on the 19th of April. Can't wait for that day. It's been bookmarked in my calendar for a long time out. Ger, thanks a million for everything. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Ronan.
Take it easy. Ger Canan there joining us with news of camogie, Tipp beating Waterford at senior, and then beating Cork in the under 23 championship, up against Dublin in that All Ireland semi-final next weekend. Pat O'Donoghue from Cashel Rugby Club's on the line. How are you, Pat?
Evening, Ronan. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm sure you're well too, because we talked up this game against Barnhall a little bit the last time we spoke, and you were kind of saying, well, Barnhall are promoted, and maybe you were underplaying your prospects a little bit, but you went and got the job done.
Yeah, as it turned out, the lads have made a liar out of me again, because
I think they're avid listeners to Extra Time on Tipp FM.
But you know what? It's a great position to be in. What a win, 40 points to 35. A winning away bonus point against the league champions. These guys have been promoted now to 1B, but they still had to tug off and play against us last Saturday. Their aim was to go undefeated for the season, and we put a stop to that. Now, it was a cracking match, a great spectacle, and a great day for AIL rugby in Barnhall. It's great to see a club like that. They're only 57 years old. To be going so well and to be getting up to 1B is a huge achievement. Yeah. But I was so proud of our lads, Ronan, to be fair.
They have a kind of a university affiliation as well, which adds greatly to their pick numbers.
Well, it does, and they're unique in that they have 2 under-20s teams playing. It's incredible the playing people that they have, and university influence is a huge plus. So that makes our victory all the more remarkable. Because to go up there and to win in that style, was incredible. Marcel Stridham, our number 9, he got 4 tries. He's after scoring 10 tries running over 3 games, which is a remarkable record. But overall, every player to a man stood up, played really well. The attitude was good going up. I was a bit worried, to be fair, as you would be. But there was no worry about our lads. They got in, they got stuck in, and they worked really hard and got a great victory.
And we were flirting with a conversation about relegation a few weeks ago. Now you're up to 6th. You're on 39 points. There's 2 games left. That's potentially 10 points available to you. It probably is. Playoffs are probably, well, they're not mathematically out of the question, but it's going to be very difficult for you with the games that are left. Who's left? Where are they, home or away, and what's left?
We've Old Crescent away next Saturday, and then we've Shannon away.
Now Shannon will obviously be. Shannon are looking like they're second place at the moment. Old Crescent are second last. Two clubs you're going to come up against with very different objectives.
Absolutely, and to be fair, you're right, Ronan. A couple of weeks back, we were talking about relegation playoffs, but as a credit to our coaching staff and the team, and indeed the whole club, they got behind the lads. They encouraged them. Everything, all the stops were pulled out, but they still had to go out and do it on the field, And in fairness to them, and a massive regard for that whole first team panel, those 20-25 guys lost a few through injury. Along the way, we were in trouble at one stage, and a lot of people, and I kept saying it to yourself and other people, don't panic. There's no need to panic. Let's settle down. Let's cool down, rebuild, get back to work. And that's exactly what they did. They showed massive character, Ron, to be fair. And at the end of the day, if we can end up middle table, at the end of the season, we can regroup over the summer and rebuild for next year.
Does 2A stay the same? I know the changes that's going to happen with 2B and 2C, and there's differing views on it. Is 2A going to be as I know it this year?
Yeah, in the short term, that's the plan, but I can see 2A disappearing as well into the abyss, and you'll have 1A and 1B then probably semi-professional leagues at that stage, I don't actually agree with it, and I said this to you before. If you look at the Ireland international team over the last 5 years, they've been top in the world, and that's like people disregard the AIL league. I don't. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming through from it, and I do think it's a retrograde step, to get rid of the lower leagues, but I've only one voice.
But the emphasis is probably on the provincial academies, which is where they see fellas coming out of schools, rugby, almost oven ready for the professional game, such as the level that the schools rugby is played at. And if you look at why Ireland punches above its weight in terms of international rugby, it's possibly because we have a schools model that doesn't require centralised funding from the IRFU.
Well, the schools model is fine, but let's take Rockwell College as a matter of interest, 6 miles out the road here, or 6.5 miles out the road here. Back in the day, like, you had international players coming from Rockwell. We haven't seen one in years. I don't think that the schools model as we knew it, is bringing through as many players as they should. Now, on the flip side of that, if you look at the club game, hundreds of players playing every week, at all levels. And I think that's a bigger resource. Don't get me wrong, I've nothing against the schools game, but there's an awful lot of players outside the school system that don't get a look in because they haven't played schools and they haven't come through an academy. And I see it every week. I see guys playing for 2A clubs that stick in my mind because they're of a quality that, they can go further and higher. And, maybe more scrutiny of players like that, maybe broaden the academy, make it bigger, make it more kind of regionalised or whatever, could be a way forward. But we've already made assembly line players coming through from clubs like Cashel and Clonmel. Yeah. Look at rugby and Tipp over the last 10, 15 years. If you told me 10 years ago there'd be 3 senior clubs in Tipp, I'd say you're nuts.
Yeah. No, I do agree with you, and I do think that it doesn't get the oxygen of publicity the AIL doesn't get it that it deserves, and that is a pity because there's some really great stuff going on. Nina, unfortunately, another defeat for them, this time at home. They were away at Cork Constitution. The thing that always strikes me about Nina, and I'm going to be very brief on this, is they don't win every week, and that's something we've mentioned a lot because of the standard that they're playing against, but they score significantly every week. I know the other teams score more than them, but they go out swinging, and you have to have the utmost respect for them.
I absolutely do, and like Nina led the way for years, like in Tipperary rugby, like and have made a massive jump in the last 2 years. I wouldn't write Nina off at all. Fair enough, they've had a poor season this year, but they will regroup. They'll rebuild over the summer. They'll know what they have to do to survive at the level. They might end up coming back down to 1B. That's not failure. That's only a time to regroup, a time to get your own players coming through and all that kind of stuff. I have no fears for Nina. They've had a tough first year in 1A, but it's a very, very tough league. And there's clubs coming in. Sure, look at Shannon are down with us. They were 1A for years.
Yeah, sure, they were the kingpins. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and that's the cycles up and down. If Nina can stop the rot and rebuild over the summer, I'd fancy them again.
Yeah, and just before we go, Clonmel had another good win on the road this time. They went up to Malahide and won, so that's, I don't know how many wins in a row for them. They still sit pretty on the top of 2C and who should at this stage secure a home playoff berth. Many thanks for your time, Pat. It's always good talking to you, friend.
You too, and thanks a million.
Not at all. Take care, Pat. That's Pat O'Donoghue, Cashel RFC, that's a big win against Barnhall. That's the first defeat for Barnhall this year. Before I go on, congratulations to St. Joseph's Bursley. They're the All-Ireland champions. They beat Closh and Nave Cormac of Offaly in the All-Ireland Senior C Schools hurling final in Bursacane over the weekend. Excellent result for them and thoroughly deserved. Delighted for them. Anytime an All-Ireland comes back to Tipperary, it's something to be really, really cherished. And good luck to St. Anne's in Tipperary Town. They're in the All-Ireland Senior C Schools Ladies Football Final on Tuesday. They play Ballinrobe Community School in Banagher at 1 o'clock, and we wish them the very best luck. Don't forget our text numbers 083 311 3311. No one is beating us in Thurles in Championship, says one texter. We will be resolute beyond what we've seen before. Somebody else says we only need to play Hoggy's Sunday games summation of Tipperary last night before as a precursor, says one texter as well. Anyway, let's continue. Our text number is 083 311 3311 because Barry Ryan is on the line. Good evening to you, Barry.
How are you, Rodham?
Very well, Barry. I'm going to come to TSDL in a second. Before I do, we've a few extra seconds tonight. Thursday night, in 20 seconds, what's going to happen?
Yeah, you know what? Someone just showed me today that Ireland were 11-4 outsiders. I was really, really surprised at that. The Czechs have had a really difficult 12-18 months. They've changed manager. They were beaten a year ago by the Faroes. I have a feeling it's going to go all the way to penalties. I think it's going to be a draw, and I think there's going to be a lot of drama. Excellent. Looking forward to it already. Troy Parrish will step up and do the job again. Wouldn't that be great? Some story. Anyway, we'll turn to more matters closer to home. The Tipperary Cup quarter-finals took place. Michael's had a 2-0 win over Boris. Will Boris rule this one? Yeah, I think they will. But I think St. Michael's very much have had their measure in the last couple of games. A lot of people were commenting on the game afterwards that they were surprised that 2 Mile Burris playing Jason Kelly as a false nine, but I actually don't think they did play him as a false nine. They tried to play him as a centre forward to occupy the 2 centre backs, but when you play a midfielder in that position, their natural inclination is always to drop in, and he just kept on dropping in, and they ended up playing without a centre forward, and that was the game over. St. Michael's were unbelievably comfortable at the back, and the one thing St. Michael's do is they'll score a goal, and that was the case. Daniel O'Dwyer has really stepped into the breach since his brother left. He's getting a lot of big goals for them, and David Slattery is really rolling back the years as well, regular scorer in recent weeks as well. So it was, to be honest, it was very comfortable for St. Michael's. They just kind of feel like they have, I think, 2 Mile Burris' measure after last year's Tipperary Cup final and the early defeat to 2 Mile Burris in the league this year. But look, from a 2 Mile Burris point of view, they'll be disappointed. But look, it's only 6 months ago they won their first major trophy as a group. They've come through, had another really good season. They're going to finish third. I think there's a lot to be hopeful about and positive about for them as well. Yeah, that is true. I suppose if you said at the start of the season the third place finish in the TSDL, they might have, they'd have aspirations higher than that, but that's not a bad, considering how competitive a league it is. Peak Villa had to go up to the Tower Field and beat Cashel Town 3-1. Yeah, look, and Peak Villa are just really going about their business really well. Pippi Carroll is a regular scorer in recent weeks. Kieran Hennessy is a regular scorer in recent weeks, and good to see Evan McCormick. He's had a couple of injuries and stuff as well, but is a regular contributor of goals coming up in set pieces and stuff like that. But they're moving really, really nicely, and we're getting kind of closer and closer to a bit of a showdown with Peakville and St. Michael's for possibly a Tipperary Cup and a league decider as well. So it's something to really kind of look forward to. And look, big mention as well to Munster, who won their regions at the weekend as well, with Sean Paddy Gearans representing North Tipp, Jimmy Carr representing South Tipp, and Paul Breen on the management team, and Pierce Foley from St. Michael's involved in the medical side as physio as well. So they're great things to be celebrated from a TSDL point of view as well. And particularly fair play to the NT and DL all weekend on social media, an update after every game. Unfortunately, in South Tipp, we don't do anything to promote football. So it was good to see North Tipp how put an Oscar trainer team in and to promote Sean Paddy Gearans representing them as well. God knows junior football needs oxygen at the moment, so fair play to North Tipp doing an awful lot of good things.
Yeah, I contradict some of what you said in relation to promoting football. In fairness, I do think there are some good people involved in the TSL who do their best. Everything could be improved upon, but there is some work being done. Let's just comment on, well, Banshee Celtic put 8 past St. Michael's in Michael's B in the other quarter-final that was played, and Kerr Park went to the complex and beat Clonmel Town, which, you know, say Clonmel Town just can't wait for the season to be over now.
Yeah, look, and that's about the size of it. I think ever since that late goal in the derby against Clonmel Celtic, it was like someone kind of popped the balloon, and I think it's really just been deflated. But Clonmel Town winning the Youth League at the weekend, beating St. Michael's 1-0 was massive for everybody in the club, and on a difficult season provides, I suppose, a real ray of hope. And they're also in the Tipperary U Cup final as well against St. Michael's, so that'll bring a little bit of positivity that's badly needed. Fair play to Kerr, it's a really good result for Higgy. They've had another solid season, and they're going along nicely. A lot of good young players in their group as well, so they've done really well. And look, Banshee really put it up to Peak Villa in the FAI Junior Cup a couple of weeks ago, so I suppose that's not a result to be surprised at. And I don't think anybody will be looking to play them in the semi-final of the Tipperary Cup, especially not away from home.
No, I think you're absolutely right there. I was interested in you referencing Paul Breen being involved in that Munster setup. How long before we see him involved actively in a TSNDL management role?
Yeah, look, I suppose, there's a lot of speculation that I think Johnny is going to step down this year. Johnny Cremens on St. Michael's, and what a job he has done. Himself and Micheál Byrne have been excellent over the last number of years. So I suppose, look, Paul Breen would certainly be the bookie's favourite, wouldn't he? He's been involved in a couple of Munster campaigns now. Both of them have been successful. If Paul Breen is a quarter of as good a coach manager as he was a player, he'll probably be one of the best ones we've had. I think it'll be very, very interesting to what his next moves are. But it's great to see him taking steps into coaching like that, because a man like that has so much to give back to football in Tipperary.
He'd certainly get the players' attention anyway.
Well, I wouldn't like to argue with him.
No, I think, but respect is earned, and Paul Breen, I tell you, has earned the respect of everybody
and
involved.
Christopher Higgins.
And Christy, I was going to interested in Higgins and Kerr. You're absolutely right. He's a hell of a player.
And you know what? They mightn't like me for it, but I put a hell of a lot of credit to James Talkie Walsh as well.
Yeah.
Those two boys got some education off him over the last 20 years as both a player and a manager. And I think that wouldn't be lost on either of them either.
No, I think you're absolutely right in what you said. Always good talking to you, Barry. Lots to talk about. I hope you enjoyed Thursday. I think the whole nation will be holding its breath, to paraphrase a great man.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Everything crossed. It would be something. Anyway,
and you know what? Just on that as well. I think Micheál Byrne will also be a big shout for the St. Michael's job as well. I think he's done a very unassuming great role over the last few years as well.
Okay, Barry, thanks for that.
Thanks for running.
Take care. That's Barry Ryan with news of the TSNDL. Ian O'Connor produced. That is all we've time for. Good night and good luck.
It's 8 o'clock. Good evening. I'm Aidan Delaney. Donald Trump has suggested his military